Alrighty, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Welcome everybody to the Safina Society Nothing But Facts live stream on a absolutely gorgeous Wednesday. Very pretty, great weather, amazing weather out on this Wednesday here in the month of Shawwal, in which we're going to get started again, pretty much picking up where we left off on Nafrawi's Risala. Nafrawi lived around the year 1100 Hijri. He died around 1120 Hijri, which means that he's from Egypt. So Nafrawi died in 1126 of the Hijrah. And the year right after that, Imam al-Dardir lived. Sidi Ahmed al-Dardir and Nafrawi lived at the same time in Egypt. And then we see here that Ali Shandusuqi lived the century after them. So these are some of the names in the Maliki school that we refer to when you find that period of time. The domination of Maliki writings is in Egypt. In the beginning, it's in Ifriqiya. When they say Ifriqiya, they mean Tunisia. Then there's always been presence in Morocco, but Tunisia, in the beginning, you find the bulk in Tunisia. And then at Andalus. And then at the end, you find it's like Egypt. Yeah, big authors there. What are we covering today? Sibagh al-Sha'r. Al-Sibagh with a Sad. Okay, Sibaghun bis-Sad. Sibagh al-Sha'r. Okay. When your hair is not black, when your hair is turning white, people want to dye their hair. What's the ruling here? Sibagh al-Sha'r al-Ghayr al-Aswad bis-Sawad لغير مقتضى شرعي يكره من غير تحريم. It is discouraged to dye one's hair black. Okay? It is discouraged without prohibition. Now, in the Hanafi terminology, they have something, and Omar is here to correct me, something called makruh tahrimi. Makruh tahrimi means it has been rendered haram by ijtihad as opposed to by direct text of Quran and Hadith. Correct, Omar?
Yeah, I mean, it's like the opposite of wajib. So the way they usually explain it is like, you have fard, it's like a sandwich structure. So like fard is the top, and then the opposite of fard is haram. Then you have wajib is under that, and then the opposite of wajib is makruh tahrimi.
So makruh tahrimi can be by nas, but it's by a nas that is like ahad or what?
So it's dhanni in either thubut or dilala.
Dhanni, thubut or dilala. So there is ijtihad involved.
Yeah,
right?
Because it's interpreted by a dhanni.
Okay,
either
so by something dhanni. So it is the prohibition of something dhanni. That is through a dhanni. Yeah. Dhanni means speculative, could have multiple meanings, but this is what we think it means.
Also another way to look at wajib and makruh tahrim is like in terms of Aqidah, if you deny it, you're not a kafir.
So that's the main difference. So in the Hanafi way, which I like, it's very impressive. They have a concept of fard and wajib. The fard is an obligation to do, and it is an obligation to believe that you have to do it. Like you can't separate even your belief from it. The wajib in the Hanafi school is something that you have to do, but if somebody doesn't believe in it, they're not outside of Islam. Now we go down the opposite side. The makruh tahrimi is something you cannot do, but if you don't believe that you don't have to do it, you're still in Islam. And the haram is something that is, you're not allowed to do it, and you must believe. There's consequences if you disbelieve that it's forbidden. So that's different. This is a Hanafi thing. Maliki, we don't really have that. But he has here saying that it's not haram. He's saying limujarrad at-tanzih. It is makruh. Okay. Now, there is a shara'i reason. Shara'i meaning a lawful reason to dye your hair black. Like what? When you're in the army and the opponent looks the opposite side and he is not really going to see your face, but he sees a white-haired man with a white beard. He feels this is a joke. We're going to defeat these people, right? So, irhab al-adu, to scare the enemy, okay? To scare the enemy, that is a lawful reason to dye your hair black. Of course, back in the day, you faced off in armies like that, okay? فلا حرج فيه بل يؤجر عليه. Not only is it lawful, you get reward for doing this. أما لو كان لغرور مشتر لعبد أو مريد نكاح امرأة فلا شك في حرمته. Now, if this dyeing of the hair would actually mislead somebody, then it's forbidden. Like what? Like, for example, marriage. You show up to a woman and your hair looks amazing. Your hair is dark. Your beard is dark. You look so young and fresh, right? Then she wakes up next to you 3 days later, and now the hair's starting to come out, and you have that look where it's white and black, and she knows that she was duped. Okay, that's in a time where you're proposing in an older age, so that would be haram. Now, because the illah there is misleading the person, any kind of dyeing of the hair that would mislead the woman is forbidden. Okay? So I asked my sheikh, I said, okay, sheikh, so we say it's makruh overall. It's discouraged to dye your hair black, absolutely. And I said, sheikh, is that with a illah? He said, no, there's no illah there. It's just, illah means a legal cause or a reason, such that if the reason is gone, the ruling is gone. That's what a illah is. He said that certain thing, even in every little every chapter, there's something there that Allah and His Messenger give a commandment there to exercise submission. So the discouragement of dyeing your hair black is absolute, and there's no illah for that. It's just to exercise submission. Okay, but the prohibition applies if you're going to mislead somebody, and that is regardless or irrespective of which color you're dyeing. So, for example, if I said to him, let's say the man is Irish and he has orange hair, right, or red hair, and he can find the exact hair dye to make all of his white hair the same color as his original hair. He said that would be misleading and it's forbidden. Okay, so it's the misleading that's forbidden. That the misleading that overrides. Any kind of misleading somebody for marriage would be forbidden. I'll fix my jersey here. Why is my jersey off?
When did you get it?
This is my old jersey. I found it. Cleaning out my drawer, I found such a nice jersey here, right? Of a team that I set up and was part of back in the day. Hockey jerseys are so nice. Like, they're thick. They got really neat logos. The name is all bold on the back. Hockey jerseys are the best. You want to see the front of the jersey? Yeah. All right. After this, we'll show you the front of the jersey. I designed it myself. Okay. So if you're misleading, then it's forbidden. Now, what about the woman to mislead the man? No, there's no such thing. She is encouraged to dye her hair, to do whatever. All those things of beautification there's no sinfulness or discouragement. All right, so only discouragement on the man. No, think about it. There is a legal consequence here. When you're a man, you're expected to do things. You're expected to defend this woman. You're expected to support this woman. So now if you misled her that you're a young man, right, that you're younger, she expects, oh, he's really going to take care of me. He's really strong. He's really going to be able to earn. And then it turns out you're all white-haired. Oh, part of the purposes of marriage in the contract is like protection and support and all that. So now she can't get that, right? So you misled her on that. Whereas you don't ask the same from her. You never ask for a woman to now, we're not going to see her hair in the first place, right? So that's irrelevant discussion because you're not going to see her hair to begin with, whether it's white or not. So we don't even need to cover that. Okay. ثم صرح بمفهوم السواد بقوله ولا بأس به أي الصباغ بالحناء بالمد لتحمير الشعر. There's nothing wrong with red henna والكتم وهو ورق السلم لتصفير الشعر. Katam makes it yellow, so you can dye your hair yellow. وعلى جوازه للرجل في شعر الرأس واللحية دون اليدين والرجلين. لأن فيهما زينة النساء. A man can do this, can dye his hair, his beard and his hair, but he cannot put henna on his hands. You know that? Men cannot do that because it's an imitation of women. Okay. ففي فعله لغير ضرورة تشبه. If there's no need for ever to put henna, that's تشبه بالنساء. And I asked again, you see, that's why our methodology, you always need a living sheikh to talk to. So I said, Sheikh, he mentions red and yellow. What about brown? He said, yes, brown is allowed. Because black was specified. Therefore, everything else was allowed. Okay. So a man can dye his beard or his hair brown. There are different shades of brown. Okay. But not black. But makruh. And if it's misleading someone, haram. Any color of that is misleading is haram. And a man cannot put henna in his hands, okay, because that would be tashabbuh bin nisa. Okay. وقد لعن صلى الله عليه وسلم المتشبهين بالنساء. There is a curse upon those, the Prophet cursed them, okay, who imitate women. وأما المرأة فيجوز لها فعل ذلك في غير شعرها. A woman may do henna in her hair and all over her body. لكن حده عمر رضي الله عنه للمرأة في اليدين بموضع السوار ونهى عن التطريف وأجازه مالك فلا يطلق القول تنبيهان فلا يطلق القول. So Malik, Umar ibn Khattab considered henna to almost be like jewelry or something. So he said only up to where the bracelets go. So where she's going to cover that part in front of other men anyway. But Malik permitted it. أجازه مالك فلا يطلق القول. So Umar's statement is not absolute. Malik said he permitted her, that she have henna on her hands. He says التنبيه الأول المتبادر من قول المصنف ولا بأس به بالحناء إلى آخره الإباحة لأنها بعد منهي عنه. So henna, he's saying here, the ruling on it is ibaha, that it's permitted. Okay. That أظهرهما ما قدمنا. ففي الذخيرة اتفقوا على جواز تغيير الشيب بالسفرة والحناء والكتم. Okay. Brown and yellow, yellow and red, which is henna and katam, and yellow hair dye is allowed for a man. Okay. وإنما اختلفوا في الأفضل. So the being permissible is no discussion on it. But what they did discuss is there any virtue in this? Like, is it good? Is it better to not do it or to do it? Okay. هل الترك أو الفعل؟ والقولان لمالك إنما كره الصباغ بالسواد دون غيره لأن فيه صرف لون إلى لون مع ذهاب الأول بخلاف نحوه الحناء فإن الأول لم يذهب جملة وإنما تغير فلا يتلبس الشيب على أحد بحمراره أو إصفراره. So one of the reasons that black would have been, for example, discouraged is that it would still mislead people. So here, Allah is mentioned. Okay, Allah is mentioned in this case, that it would mislead people. Whereas if a man who has black hair, Arab man, for example, Desi man, for example, walks around with a red beard or a yellow beard, you know that he dyed it, right? You know that that's not his natural color. So there's no misleading here. Okay. Omar, why don't we keep that, move that over and keep the Arabic intensive up for a long time so people could see it?
We should introduce it first, though.
Okay, we'll introduce it too. Yeah. Okay. Whereas for black, you're just returning it to your old color, and people may not think that that you have white hair at all. والثاني لم يثبت أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم صبغ إنما قال اختضبوا وفرقوا وخالفوا اليهود لأن اليهود والنصارى لا يصبغون فأمر صلى الله عليه وسلم بمخالفتهم وإنما صبغ أبو بكر. The Prophet himself never dyed his hair because he didn't have many white hairs. But the Prophet did command people to dye their hair, be different from the Jews. They never dye their hair. Dye your hair. When your hair turns white, O Muslim man, dye it. Color it. O Muslim woman, same thing, color it. Color your hair. Okay? And Abu Bakr did so. Abu Bakr did have hair like that, and white hair, and he dyed his hair. So again, ketam is yellow, and henna is red. And many people, you can see them, they have henna, is very clear. And really, it's up to, what people feel about it. Because sometimes, when you see somebody with a bright red beard, in our culture, it's a little bit odd. Orange beard may be a little bit odd for some people, but they also have but here, it's not the plant itself that there has reward in it. Okay? According to this, it's number one, permitted only. And when the Prophet ﷺ says that, when you do it, by the Prophet, peace be upon him, saying it, you can sense that there may be even virtue in it. Why? To be different from the Yahud and the Nasara. But it doesn't make a difference now whether this is henna or it's dye. A dye from, you go to your barbershop and he dyes your hair or something like that. That's not the henna plant. There's nothing specific in it, according to this text. We may go to another text and we may find something else. Okay. Laith Newton, is it a makruh for man to shave his mustache and beard? No, forbidden. For fashion reasons or otherwise. For fashion reasons, let's just say maybe even more forbidden. Because it's not appropriate for a man to care too much and try to be so fashionable and, and look and care so much about his appearance in that regard. Okay, on top of being something forbidden. All right, let's announce this summer intensive, folks. Who here wants to come and hang out with us all summer long? Well, you have an opportunity to do that right now. Okay, you could join us for our summer intensive, June to August. Okay, it's basically free, $350. It's a symbolic tuition, essentially, really. Okay. All right, it's a symbolic tuition pretty much if you think about it.
The basement's done?
The basement is almost done. We're going to help you find a place to live, if not the basement somewhere else, but we will help you find a place to live. Okay. The class schedule, there's classes 4 times a week. Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday is online. Okay. So Sunday classes 2 to 5. Then Monday's off. Tuesday, you can come to the live stream, then go to class 7 to 10. Wednesday, you come to the live stream and there's no class. Thursday, you come to the live stream, then 7 to 10. And then Friday is off. Friday, of course, we have Jummah, we have lunch, we have dhikr night at night. Okay. Of course, every Thursday we have a small remembrance of the Prophet ﷺ. And Saturday you have classes online 2 to 4. Okay. So it's an amazing program. Not only that, there's plenty of other things. Wednesday, for example, I think Wednesday is when guys frisbee, football. Okay. Wednesday we got soup kitchen. Okay. All right. And it's essentially it is a free program. All right, because it's only $350.
Also, if you apply, as it mentions on the slide right here, that if you do enroll in the summer intensive, then it'll take $300 off your tuition if you apply for the Darul Fath program. So, and it's this program also, the summer intensive, is free for the Darul Fath students as well. Yeah. So the existing students, it's free for them.
Very good. Very good.
And yeah, you guys can see all the information. It's 8 weeks. I mean, if you do the math, that's so it's around 11 hours a week. I believe so. So you have 3 right here, plus 3, plus 3, 9, plus 2, 11 hours a week. That's really, really solid. 11 hours a week of Arabic. Oh, you guys will.
Yeah.
Whoever wants to learn Arabic from scratch. Oh man.
And not that. Not only that, you're going to be attending all the gatherings. You be going to Maqasid sometimes. Well, you have class on Thursday, so you can't do that. But you go Sunday. You go to Maqasid. No, you have class on Sunday too.
No, but it's in the 2 to 5 on Sundays.
2 to 5. So right after that, you go to Maqasid.
Maqasid, no, and the Suhbah here, man. Oh my God. In the summer.
Tuesday morning, they have a majlis at Maqasid, which is really good. You can go to that. Tuesday morning.
Pennsylvania?
Yeah. Tuesday morning, they have a nice, they have Hadrabah Saudan.
Ah, yes.
Who is putting all those question marks? Can you read that for us? What's going on there? Why are there so many question marks?
Is accommodation available for international students?
Anybody can come. We will help you with no guarantee, but we will help you find a place to live. Okay, and there may be spot available here in the soup kitchen, in the area of our soup kitchen.
Inshallah, yeah.
I know real estate agent, so maybe he can help.
There's plenty of people in the college camp. Yeah, you got it. There's plenty of people in the college campuses.
Yeah.
Where the college students leave for the summer.
Oh, so
So
they're
that, yeah.
Yeah, they're always looking for
It's
someone
very
to.
cheap, like a few $100 a
Yeah.
month.
Well, one of the reasons we made the
Almost.
tuition so cheap is that you're just going to spend on your living quarters. Yeah. So
And then-
basically, want people to come and hang out with. So I promise you guys, I'll show you this jersey. Last men's hockey team I played on, we designed this jersey, huh?
The Devils?
No, not the Devils. We were the Generals. Look at this logo, right? Look at that logo. Okay. It was the Generals. This was the color scheme of the team: gold with a touch of orange and black. And this was the. Isn't that a neat jersey? That's a gorgeous looking jersey right there, right? I gotta say, of all the sports jerseys, hockey jerseys are the best. Yeah.
I like them because they're loose.
Yeah, they're loose, they're big,
Yeah.
they're thick,
Loose stuff.
right?
So some questions.
Yeah.
Is it
Here,
available
oops,
online
come on,
also?
put it up
No,
for us.
unfortunately.
Say again?
So he's asking if it's available online. Unfortunately, it's
No,
not.
there's nothing online. It's meant to get the immersion
Yeah.
element of things. It's meant to get an immersion element of things, and then to lead up to the part-time program. But the summer Arabic intensive, come and hang out with us for the whole month. Okay.
As a fellow student here speaking, like this is an amazing opportunity for anyone that wants to learn Arabic.
Yeah, it should be good.
These like Sheikh, you look at this kind of program. You go overseas. It's less time. First of all, it's not as much time as this.
Yeah.
And they're charging way more. Like
Way
I don't
more.
know, Maybe
Way
in
more.
Turkey, for example, they charge a lot of money for these
Totally.
kind of things. One of
Totally.
the countries that comes to mind. So in the U.S., you get the suhbah. You get, inshallah, in your free time, you can, if you want to do even more Arabic, then you got brothers here.
Yeah.
Me and the other brothers, we can work on some other Arabic things as well if you really want to go all in.
The thing is that when you come here, there's
Practice.
so many students, and they have little study circles on the side. That's the thing. Constantly, nonstop study circles on the side, right?
Like last year, we had the summer intensive, and like we did our own class in Mantiq, for example,
Mm-hmm.
like hours of Mantiq and like Mustalah al-Hadith with Sheikh
Yep.
Haroon. There's always something popping up in this kind of environment that you
Yep.
have going.
I have to go pick up my mom.
You got to go. All right, take care of yourself.
So inshallah, we're gonna keep putting this up just so people are aware of this, because
Yeah, keep it up. Yeah.
like this inshallah, this whole like next week,
Yep.
we're gonna keep letting people know about this. This is a great opportunity.
That's really good. Let's get the update on Columbia University. Columbia University early Wednesday today extended by 48 hours a deadline for talks on dismantling pro-Palestinian protesters encampments on the campus grounds after a midnight deadline issued the night before raised the prospect of further turmoil at the Ivy League institution. Owner of the New England Patriots has threatened to pull out. I don't know if he threatened or he's actually pulling out. We'll see. Okay. Robert Kraft, owner of the Patriots, puts in tons of money, and the Center for Jewish Life there is called the Kraft Center for Jewish Life. I mean, fortunately for everyone, the Patriots are no longer a relevant team, since the two other parts that made them a relevant team are Belichick and Brady, and they're gone. But I have to say that, that Kraft was one of the best owners. Robert Kraft, as Israeli and Zionist as he is one of the best. If you want to know, if you want to read about an owner who, a premier owner, he's one of them, of a business in general, because, we wouldn't own a sports team, by the way. We wouldn't earn money from sports. That's a ruling. What is the Hanafi ruling on that? Okay, earning money from sports. It's unlawful for us completely. Columbia University early Wednesday extended by 48 hours. These talks. The university has been in talks with student organizers behind protests against the Israel-Gaza war, part of a wave of demonstrations at colleges across the country that have led to a spat of arrests to clear an encampment on the west lawn of Columbia's Morningside Heights campus. If the discussions are not successful, Minu Shafiq warned Tuesday in a statement, Columbia will have to consider alternative options for clearing the West Lawn to restore calm on campus. Mahmoud Khalil is a student at Columbia. As part of the negotiations, said he was not aware of any police presence as of Tuesday. In a statement provided to the Washington Post, Columbia said it was extending the deadline by 48 hours for progress to be made. Okay, so House Speaker Mike Johnson, Republican from Louisiana, said he's going to visit the Columbia campus and call on Shafiq to resign. Both sides are calling on Shafiq to resign. Both the protesters and the Israel lobby. Okay. He said in an interview on the Hugh Hewitt show, he added, who watches it? Who listens to Hugh Hewitt? He added that he would also meet with Jewish students and a rabbi on campus. He's going there to pump them up. Yeah. New York Governor Kathy Hochul, Democrat, said on Tuesday that she had no plans to call in the National Guard in response to the campus protesters. National Guard for what? More than 100 people protesting the war in Gaza were arrested and charged with trespassing at Columbia last week after Shafiq summoned the police to campus. And she said this was an extraordinary step to keep the campus safe. Safe from what? People sitting? Tensions over the war in Gaza, now in its 7th month, have swept across American campuses. Okay. Similar protests have erupted at NYU, Yale, and UC Berkeley. Okay. Opinion poll here. Columbia's president is committed to one simple principle: keeping her job. She's not interested at all in anything else except keeping her job. You know, she's Egyptian. Coptic Christian Egyptian. Okay. Last week, Columbia President Minouche Shafiq offered congressional testimony. We said all this yesterday. Okay. The spectacle of the leader of one of the world's greatest universities snitching on some of the school's professors, okay, was both frightening and pathetic. Combating anti-Semitism at American universities is an urgent objective, but some conservatives are using it as a means to a broader end to control U.S. higher education. This is not particularly surprising to anyone following the anti-woke backlash. Well, I'm part of the anti-woke backlash. Count me part of it. All right, and the anti-woke backlash has weakened them a lot. They've become like mockery and a joke online, even among youth, by the way. Right-wing ideologues, we're not part of that either, but right-wing ideologues are going to right-wing ideologize. What's alarming is Shafiq's willingness to throw faculty and academic freedom under the bus. Any relations we had with the right-wing side of things ended completely on October 7th because they're all fully lockstep Zionists. Okay. And actually any distance between the left and any sensible Muslim thawed a little bit, to be honest with you. They thawed after October 7th. Thawed meaning it was icy and it became less icy. Okay. Hopefully the underside of the bus has room for more than 100 Columbia students who were arrested. In other words, he threw his own faculty under the bus, threw academic freedom under the bus in order to please Congress and the Israel lobby and the Zionists. Yet simultaneously, it failed. Both failed. She's hated now by the protesters and by the Zionists. Okay. That's what happens when you have no principle except, what's beneficial now. Okay. Ahmed al-Baradi says Minouche Niamat is Muslim. Is it? Is she? I thought she was a Coptic Christian. Can you double check that? I mean, not that it makes a difference, but let's just double check it. Shafiq, along with other Columbia administrators, was summoned before the House committee, okay, to answer for the rampant anti-Semitism engulfing their campuses, threatening Jewish students. That line right there is a bunch of lies. Threatening Jewish students because they're just not happy. That's threatening for them, right? That's what's threatening to them. Muslima? Anyway, find out for us. Just out of curiosity, not that it makes a difference. She seemed determined not to repeat the performance of then presidents Harvard and UPenn, who, testifying before the same committee, resolutely avowed their school's commitment to freedom of expression. Okay? That meant nuanced, one might even say intellectual answers to questions from committee members such as this hawk and this McCarthyist Elise Stefanik from New York, okay, who did not appear interested in nuance. In one exchange, Stefanik answered Harvard's Claudine Gay whether a student's call for the mass murder of African Americans would be protected free speech. When Gay attempted to answer, Stefanik loudly interrupted, saying it's a yes or no question, and then moved on to her next harangue, asking how Harvard would respond to students chanting Intifada Revolution. Gay answered that while she found that kind of speech personally abhorrent and at odds with the values of Harvard, the university embraced a commitment to free expression. That's a perfectly political statement. Very political. I'm going to read a little bit this, and then we're going to do the Dua of Wednesday in a little bit. As a description of the free speech policies of many universities, Gay's answer was exactly right. The reward for her commitment to civil liberties was getting sacked. She was forced out of the president position at Harvard. She still retains her teaching post, but she's no longer president. And after that, Liz McGill resigned from UPenn after offering a similar statement on academic freedom. Okay? She was sacked. Why? Because the big donors of these universities are all Zionists. At last week's hearing, Shafiq proclaimed Columbia's commitment to supporting rigorous academic exploration and freedom. But her answers to committee members revealed those words to be lip service. She acknowledged that the meaning of phrases such as from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free is contested. But she said we have some disciplinary cases ongoing around that language. What does that even mean? Meaningless statement. We have specified that those kinds of chants should be restricted in terms of where they happen. At the December hearing, Stefanik alleged that a Harvard dean had been removed from his post because of his legal representation of an unpopular client. Gay demurred that this was incorrect, but said she was not going to get into details about a personal matter. Shafiq was much more forthcoming about the faculty she leads. The day before the hearing, Columbia sent a committee letter detailing its investigations of 8 faculty members. On my watch, she said, faculty who make remarks that cross the line in terms of anti-Semitism will face consequences. I have 5 cases at the moment who have either been taken out of the classroom or dismissed. And she named the famous Joseph Mesad. Joseph Mesad is a Shami, Palestinian, I believe, political science, philosophy professor who he actually has a great book on liberalism. Okay. And he published an article on regarding October 7th called Just Another Battle or the Palestinian War of Liberation. And that he was spoken to because of this article. All right. Had it been up to her, she said, he would have not gotten tenure. Look at this. What kind of president are you? Talking about your people like this. Regarding Professor Muhammad Abdu, he posted, I'm with Hamas and Hezbollah and Islamic Jihad on social media. Shafiq said he is grading his students' papers and will never teach at Columbia again. Insane. Insane. Okay.
It seems like her parents are Muslim, but I mean, it does seem like she's Muslim, but she's also married to like a non-Muslim.
Yeah.
A non-Muslim guy.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of how she acts, it's like.
No, I don't think there's any Islam in her her ideology or her belief or anything there. Nothing there. Yep. Okay. The Academy's traditional response to speech that demeans racial, religious, or other groups has been to protect it. Consider the case of Amy Wax from UPenn. Wax said, our country will be better off with more whites and fewer non-whites. Okay? That African Americans and non-Western people feel resentment, shame, and envy of Western people for Western people's outsized achievements and contributions. I mean, that's only for the last 400 years. There's always, pendulum is always swinging, right? So, I mean, you look back, there was a period of time where the Mongols dominated the world. There's a period of time before that where Bukhara, Samarkand, you know, those places dominated the world. Like, that was the city to be. Bukhara, Samarkand, that was the cutting edge. There's a period of time Qurtuba was the cutting edge. Period of time Baghdad was the cutting edge. Period of time where in Africa, Timbuktu was in the cutting edge. Many centuries in which China and India were considered at the cutting edge. At every point in time, there's a period, maybe a couple, and a whole area. So, for example, we just named a whole bunch of Muslim cities, right? So for like a good 600 years, it was one Muslim city or other that was at the cutting edge of the world. Outsized achievements. Now, for the last 400 years, let's say, they're all Western nations, starting from the Austria-Hungary, then it moved over, it seems, then England, then France, and America, okay, at the cutting edge. وَتِلْكَ الْأَيَامُ نُدَاوِلُهَا بَيْنَ النَّاسِ. These days, we shift them amongst the people. Before Islam came, and right up until 400 years ago, let's say, that part of the world was not really to be mentioned. Okay? Cairo? No. Not to be mentioned. Maybe parts of Alexandria during the Pharaoh's time. That's way back. Or southern Egypt in the Pharaoh's time. That's way back, though. The world's, it's always constantly shifting like this. So for Amy Wax to, get a little too excited about this current period, that's naivete on her part. Does she think it's going to last forever? Nothing lasts forever, right? Okay. And she's saying the U.S. will be better off with fewer Asians and less Asian immigration. Penn has prohibited Wax from teaching first-year law students, and his faculty senate recommended sanctions not for her speech, but for her conduct that involved flagrant disregard for the university's rules. Still, the law school's dean emphasized that as a scholar, Wax is free to advocate her views, no matter how dramatically those views diverge from our institutional ethos and considered practices. So what happens if someone were to just say America would be better off with fewer Jews? Right? If that's the case, let's take Amy Wax's statement and just swap it out. Our country will be better off with more whites and fewer non-whites. All right, how about this? Our country will be better off with more Protestants and fewer Jews. What's going to happen? Our country would be better off with more Christians and fewer Muslims. Listen, she got away with saying more whites and fewer non-whites. How about saying, just, if that's the case, we can synonymously change things around. Okay? Or put things in the placeholders there. Make parallel statements. Our country would be better off with more blank and fewer blanks. UPenn is telling us that's all right to say. So why would it be a problem if someone were to say at that point in UPenn, not our country, let's say our country and Palestine will be better off, right, with fewer Jews? What would happen to her then? Right? See, these Asians and African Americans don't have such a big lobby. Their donors are not, they're not going to be phone coming off the hook with donors, calling and threatening. Among the House Committee's next target are faculty members at Rutgers, our own university here, including law professor Sahar Aziz, who committee chair Virginia Fox claims has made numerous anti-Semitic and pro-terrorist statements. including saying that American Jews are more privileged than Muslim, Arab, and Palestinian Americans. So that statement right there is pro-terrorist. That's anti-Semitic. But UPenn, right? America will be better off with more whites and fewer non-whites. That's okay. No congressional statement for that. Okay. As an African-American graduate of Harvard, I was dismayed, says the author Paul Butler, when Gay, the university's first black president, resigned in the aftermath of her congressional testimony. Okay. Shafiq's spinelessness demonstrates that there are worse things a person can lose than a job. Yeah, like their dignity, basically. That's what he's saying here. Let's take a break, go to our dua of Wednesday, and then go a little bit more affairs of the Ummah, and then we'll go for our Q&A. Okay. All right, let's go to our dua. لا إله إلا الله الملك الحق المبين 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 بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا فتحنا لك فتحا مبينا ليغفر لك الله ما تقدم من ذنبك وما تأخر ويتم نعمته عليك ويهديك صراطا مستقيما وينصرك الله نصرا عزيزا وكان عند الله وجيها في الدنيا والآخرة ومن المقربين وجهت وجهي للذي فطر السماوات والأرض بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نصر من الله وفتح قريب وبشر المؤمنين يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا أنصار الله كما قال عيسى بن مريم للحواريين من أنصاري إلى الله قال الحواريون نحن أنصار الله الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل لرأيته خاشعا متصدعا من خشية الله وتلك الأمثال نضربها للناس لعلهم يتفكرون هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو عالم الغيب والشهادة هو الرحمن الرحيم هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر سبحان الله عما يشركون هو الله الخالق البارئ المصور له الأسماء الحسنى يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم أعيذ نفسي بالله تعالى من كل ما يسمع بأذنين بصير بعينين بشيء برجلين وبطش بيدين وتكلم بشفتين حصنت نفسي بالله الخالق الأكبر من شر ما أخاف وأحذر من الجن والإنس وأن يحضرون عز جاره وجل ثناؤه وتقدست أسماؤه ولا إله غيره اللهم نجعلك في نهور أعدائي وأعوذ بك من شرورهم وتحيرهم ومكرهم وكائدهم أطفئ نار من أراد بعداوة من الجن والإنس يا حافظ يا حفيظ يا كافي يا محيط سبحانك يا رب ما أعظم شأنك وعز سلطانك تحصنت بالله باسماء الله بآيات الله ملائكة الله وأنبياء الله ورسل الله والصالحين من عباد الله حصنت نفسي بلا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم اللهم احرسني بعينك التي لا تنام واكنفني بكنفك الذي لا يرام وارحمني بقدرتك علي فلا أهلك وأنت ثقتي ورجائي يا غياث المستغيثين يا غياث المستغيثين يا غياث المستغيثين يا درك الهالكين يا دارك الهالكين يا دارك الهالكين اكفني شر كل طارق يطرق بليل ونهار إلا طارقا يطرق بخير إنك على كل شيء قدير بسم الله أرقي نفسي من كل ما يؤذي من كل حاسد الله شفائي بسم الله رقيت اللهم رب الناس ذو الباس اشفي أنت الشافي وعافي أنت المعافي لا شفاء إلا شفاؤك شفاء لا يغادر سقما ولا ألم يا كافي يا وافي يا حميد يا مجيد ارفع عني كل تعب شديد واكفني من الحد والحديد والمرض الشديد والجيش العديد واجعل لي نورا من نورك وعزا من عزك ونصر من نصرك وبهاء من بهائك وعطاء من عطائك وحراسة من حراستك وتأييد من تأييدك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام والمواهب العظام سألك أن تكفيني من شر كل ذي شر إنك أنت الله الخالق الأكبر وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. في كل لحظة أبدا خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه مداد كلماته. Inshallah, we'll stop here, take 2 minutes for dua. صلى الله وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. All right, let's go to a little bit more of affairs of the Ummah, some interesting things here. Michaela School in England, the High Court has ruled that Michaela Community School, who here is in England, pupils can not pray, and the school can ban prayer. Michaela School was taken to court by a Muslim girl over a policy which she said was discriminatory, which is you cannot pray in the school. That's what the Michaela School, this case is about. Okay. Academically very successful school. It said that allowing prayer would undermine inclusion. How ironic that is. What if you put them in a room by themselves? Okay. The pupil and her parents had chosen the school knowing its strict regime and were able to move to a suitable school which would allow her to pray at lunchtime. The disadvantage to Muslim pupils at the school was outweighed by the aims which it seeks to promote the interests of the school community as a whole, including Muslims. So the head teacher had not acted unfairly in failing to ask the claimant for her version of events before excluding her for 2 days. The head teacher's decision was based on the evidence of a senior teacher that the claimant had been extremely rude and defiant towards her in front of other pupils, and the head teacher was fully entitled to accept the teacher's account. That's what the court said. The head teacher acted unfairly in excluding the claimant for 5 days from praying on the basis of what she was told by a teacher after an investigation which did not include comments from the claimant. Justice Linden said the claimant at the very least impliedly accepted when she enrolled at the school that she would be subject to restrictions on her ability to manifest her religion. She knew that the school is secular, and her own evidence is that her mother wished her to go there because it was known to be strict. She herself says that long before the prayer ritual policy was introduced, she and her friends believed that prayer was not permitted at school, and she therefore made up for missed prayers when she got home. Okay. You know that we have rulings on submitting your children to non-Muslims for long periods of time. We have rules on that. You know that? It's actually forbidden to submit your kids to the care of non-Muslims. You know that we actually have rules for that. Okay. Why? Because things like this could happen. They don't believe in the Sharia that you believe in. And therefore, if they're responsible over your children, and they don't believe in the Sharia that you believe in, that's going to obviously be an issue. The head teacher there is Birbal Singh. She said that the school should be free to do what is right for the pupils it serves. She added, schools should not be forced by one child or her mother to change its approach simply because they have decided they don't like something at the school. If parents do not like what Makela is, they do not need to send their children to us. This is why it's forbidden. So you don't get told off like this. You don't never put yourself in a position where you're going to be told off. Following the ruling, the student said that she was disappointed. As is set out in the judgment, I do not agree that it would be too hard for the school to accommodate pupils who wished to pray in the lunch break. Now, there are ways in which you can get what you want in life. And the ways in which you do that is to massage it in, not to come in with a punch. Okay. But anyway, that's not the subject here. The school is very well run and generally very good at managing everything. The school doesn't wish to allow pupils to pray, has chosen a different path, and the judge has found in their favor, has judged in their favor. Even though I lost, I still feel that I did the right thing to seek to challenge the ban. I tried my best and was true to myself and my religion, she said, as she planned to remain at the school and focus on her GCSEs. I'm grateful for the understanding that my non-Muslim friends at school have shown as to the issues that affect us. The Michaela Community School, according to the head teacher, you know, these one of these schools where everything's organic. There are no plastic straws. You know, these types of schools, they actually make fun of them all the time in the movies. Everything's organic. You know, if you're a minute late, you get $10 fine. Things like that. Michaela School, according to the head teacher, aggressively promotes integration between pupils from different faiths, cultures, and ethnic backgrounds. And it seeks to minimize social distinctions between them. Half the school's 700 pupils are Muslim. Half. And they claim to care. Wow. Half. So wait a second. You could not have 350 out of 700 could not massage and be really nice and donate some money and be really nice and make accommodation, encourage accommodations for all religious groups, for example, hypothetically. Wow. The school introduced the ban in the same month due to concerns about a culture shift towards segregation between religious groups and intimidation within the group of Muslim students. Wow. Interesting story here. Okay. Salman Rushdie complains that losing my eye upsets me every day. The blasphemous author Salman Rushdie has told the BBC that losing his eye upsets him every day. He's just lucky he wasn't judged the way we would have judged him. He would have lost a lot more than his eye. Okay? No, this work on the Prophet would have got you executed. So you're lucky. Rushdie said his eye was left hanging down his face like a soft-boiled egg. I was thinking I am dying. Fortunately, I was wrong. The attack damaged Rushdie's liver and hands and severed nerves in his right eye. His eye looked very distended, swollen, hanging out of my face, sitting on my cheek. Okay, and blind. Okay. The Satanic Verses author added that he finds he has to take greater care when walking downstairs, crossing a road, pouring water into a glass, but he considers himself lucky that he avoided brain damage. It meant I was actually still able to be myself. Hadi Matar, all right, Hadi Matar, a 26-year-old New Jersey resident, what? Was charged with stabbing Rushdie. Yeah. He pleaded not guilty. He's being held without bail. Hadi Matar? I don't know. Have you ever seen the guy looks like this before, Omar? Look.
I see a picture right here.
I mean, there's this face. Budget 5,000 Palestinians look like this, and Egyptians, right? This is a common face, too common. Go to Patterson right now, and you'll see the guy walking down the street. Upon publication of the Satanic verses in 1988, Muslims worldwide were outraged by a character called Mahound, who appears in dream sequences in the novel and was alleged to be a thinly and perversely disguised representation of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The name Mahound was used in medieval Christian plays to represent satanic figures, and some Muslims concluded that Rushdie was implying Muhammad was a false prophet. In the book, Rushdie also, because didn't the Shah of Iran, the king of Iran, what's his name? Ayatollah Khomeini put a bounty on his head, which means that you're going to be executed. You're going to be killed. So after all that time, you lost an eye. Instead, you could have lost your life. In the book, Rushdie also gave the names of the Prophet's wives to 12 prostitutes in a brothel. And he invoked a discredited and false tradition, the so-called Satanic verses, in which Satan inspired Muhammad to compromise with the people of Mecca and to allow them to continue worship other deities in attempt to lure them to Islam.
He didn't even come with a real criticism. It was such a weak argument that he's.
There was no argument; he was just making fun.
Okay, but aren't you conceding then that it's divine origin if there's satanic? Like, it just doesn't make sense. The whole idea is like.
Well, the Satanic verses came from. Satanic verses, for people to understand, is a claim that is found in hadith literature, Waqidi in specific, and it's been rejected by almost all of the serious muhaddithin, in which Shaitan whispered into the ear of the Prophet ﷺ a verse which would imply that the idol worship is accepted if the intent is changed as only for intercession. That's the implication. وَإِنَّهُنَّ الْغَرَانِيقُ الْعُلَى وَإِنَّ شَفَاعَتُهُنَّ لَتُرْتَجَى. That's allegedly the verse in Surah an-Najm. So as the false hadith claims. I'm telling you what the false hadith says, not what is true. And so after that, when the Prophet recited that allegedly in this false hadith, everyone celebrated. Everyone was happy because khalas, the war is over between the Muslims and the Prophet and Quraysh, and that we're okay now. We could worship Allah and we could worship the idols as intercessors to Allah. And of course, the surah itself, the beginning of Surah An-Najm itself, would indicate that this is false. Why? Because Allah says, وَالنَّجْمِ إِذَا هَوَى مَا ضَلَّ صَاحِبُكُمْ وَمَا غَوَى. Because according to the alleged story, then the Prophet announced it, everyone celebrated, then Jibreel came back and said, no. This is not a true ayah. That's from Iblis. Let me ask you something. When the Prophet's receiving revelation, Jibreel is there, right? If Jibreel is there, how is Iblis there? Isn't he flee from the light of the angels? So Allah says in Surah An-Najm, open Surah An-Najm, by the وَالنَّجْمِ إِذَا هَوَى, which is, it's the falling stars, shooting stars, but An-Najm إِذَا هَوَى is also an oath by the ayats of the Quran when they are revealed. An-Najm means that which comes down, like the ayahs as they come down to the Prophet ﷺ from the heavens to the earth. مَا ضَلَّ صَاحِبُكُمْ, your companion never went astray. وَمَا غَوَى, and he never made an error in this revelation. مَا ضَلَّ صَاحِبُكُمْ وَمَا غَوَى. So Allah is announcing in the beginning of Surah An-Najm, your companion, this messenger Muhammad ﷺ, is not making mistakes in the Quran. He's not going astray in the religion or in the Quran. So that later on, when some people say this story, this fabricated satanic verses story, we know very well, right? It's not true. The Surah An-Najm announces that the Prophet never made such mistakes in the Quran. That's the whole concept and idea of the satanic verses in the first place. Okay?
It's such a low IQ contention, because it's like there's so many things you're like bringing forth with it too. Like, okay, first now you have to concede that he's getting revelation. Yeah. It's just this one thing was.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then you're conceding Satan exists. And
so you're conceding revelation is there. You're conceding the existence of
That
Satan.
Jibreel alayhi salam came and
That the existence of Jibreel correcting him.
that the hadith is true and the hadith literature is accurate.
You're actually by believing in satanic verses, you're affirming hadith.
Yeah, because why do you trust this one and reject the rest of them? Like,
Yep, you're 100% right with that. It's a good observation. Pakistan banned the book in November 1988. In February 89, a 10,000 strong protest against Rushdie and the book took place in Islamabad. I would have no hesitation saying in Islamic law, you'd be executed for this. I know someone may clip that and try to make it into some kind of thing. Do it, and I stand by it. Right? Yeah, he's lucky. He could have lost a lot more than an eye. Okay. Sikh protesters were killed in an attack. Not to condone the act, because the guy took the law in his own hand. Hadi Matar, we're not allowed to take the law into our own hand, right? So we're not allowed to do that. But in terms of loss, he got away with murder. This Salman Rushdie, he got away with capital crime by Sharia standards. 6 protesters were killed in an attack on the American Cultural Center, and an American Express office was ransacked. Poor mailman at the American Express office, just because it says American, they ransacked it. As the controversy spread, the importing of the book was banned in India, and it was burned in demonstrations in the UK. In mid-February 1989, Ayatollah Khomeini, the supreme leader of Iran, issued a fatwa calling for the death of Rushdie and his publishers, and called for Muslims to point him out to those who can kill him if they cannot themselves. So here, by fiqh standards, the Ayatollah is calling for the Muslims to take the law into their own hands, and we would have to say that would be a fatwa that is would have to be mulgha and mardud. In response, rejected. The British Conservative government under Margaret Thatcher gave Rushdie round-the-clock police protection. With police protection, Rushdie escaped direct physical harm, but others associated with the book weren't so lucky. The one who translated into Japanese, Hitisho Igarashi, was found by a cleaning lady, stabbed to death in July 1991 on the college campus where he taught near Tokyo. Wow, in Tokyo he was killed. 10 days prior to his killing, Rushdie's Italian translator, Ettore Capriolo, was seriously injured by an attacker at his home in Milan by being stabbed multiple times. The Norwegian publisher, William Nygaard, was critically injured by being shot 3 times in the back. Okay. And he survived. The book's Turkish translator, Aziz Nesin, Ghayru Aziz, right? Dhalil Nesin, for translating. Aziz means majestic, noble. He's Dhalil, lowly, for translating this type of book. Zalil Nesin was the intended target of a mob arsonist who set fire to the hotel that he was staying at. And he escaped death. Okay. Finally, in 2006, the Iranian government withdrew its support for carrying out the death sentence. Yeah, we would withdraw it too, because you're not allowed to take part. You're not take part in take law into your own hands in another country. That's why we would take it back. Okay. All right, this is pretty bad. Anti-Muslim crimes in Germany double in the last year. Well, this is also another reasons why the Muslim is not supposed to be living under the care of non-believers, but, you know, people are stuck. I'm not shaming them for that, but this is just an example of why. Same thing. You're not supposed to submit your children to the care of a non-Muslim. Why? But you should let her pray. They don't let them pray, right? So they're not going to observe the Sharia for your children. That's why you're not allowed to do that. In any event, in 2023, 1,464 crimes committed against Muslims. The year before that, it was 610 anti-Muslim crimes. Police report 137 such crimes just in the first quarter of this year. The surge in anti-Muslim crimes is linked with escalating war in Gaza because, you know, Germany's really trying to backpedal its Holocaust reputation or its Holocaust record and try to be the most Israel country in the world, even probably more pro-Israel than Israel itself. Any attack on the Muslims in Germany, absolutely unacceptable, said the spokesperson from the government, Stefan Hebestreit. There are nearly 5 million Muslims in Germany that have every right to be protected. The Berlin-based Alliance Against Islamophobia and Anti-Muslim Hate had also warned of growing anti-Muslim racism. We're witnessing an intensification of anti-Muslim racism in Germany. This is something we should all be concerned about. Okay, some nice statements from the government. Germany cannot but be aware that the munitions, the military equipment, and the war weapons it is supplying to Israel are supporting its attacks in Gaza, says Gomez, even if such equipment is not immediately being used for that purpose. And these are different people speaking out against Germany's support of Israel. All right, that's good enough. Let's go to the Q&A and the discussion here. Let's go to our discussion here. Let's go to our YouTube channel and see what people have to say. Question for you. Why is it not common for the hadith about the 10 major signs to be interpreted metaphorically? Good question. Metaphor in the text of Quran and hadith are only acceptable as interpretive methods, as an interpretation, if the text of the hadith or the wording contradicts A, the Sharia, B, observed reality, or C, it poses a contradiction to another stronger, more authoritative text. Okay. If we open the door to metaphor, we have no religion. Bridled metaphor, that anything can be interpreted metaphorically, we will have no religion. Everything will be metaphoric. Okay. The rising of the sun for Salat al-Fajr, the beginning of the day. Salah itself, dua, turning your heart to God. You will become Christianity. You will not have a religion. Okay. So metaphor, he meant it metaphorically. He meant it allegorically. Must be confined. Confined to what? Imagine you yourself are talking to people and they take everything you say as a metaphor, right? No. Metaphor is limited to if the text, the wording of the text would seem to contradict the Sharia. Let me give you an example of that. The Prophet ﷺ sent some companions out on a mission, and he said, you will not pray Asr except in their location. So go quickly. So they traveled and they got delayed to the point that they ended up missing. Asr was about to leave. It was to be gone. Maghrib was going to come in. So half of the group said, well, we have to pray Asr now because we're about to miss the Salah. The Prophet only meant it, meaning as an expression to move quickly. And this Prophet accepted that interpretation. Okay, so that's one of the examples. Linguistically. Observed reality. Prophet ﷺ said that the sun prostrates to Allah Ta'ala and takes under the throne and takes permission to rise up again. Right? And now, based on the observed reality of that, what we see here in the world that we're living in, what is prostration? Prostration is put what is up, down. So the sun is all equal. It's an orb. But let's say you could say, so what does it mean, prostration here? Prostration means it obeys God's command. That's what prostration means here. It obeys Allah's command. It is in complete submission to the divine will. Okay? And when the sun sets, it's not going under the throne, because that would mean the throne is like under the earth. Okay? So it means with complete humility. And Allah knows best. But you can see the Mufassirin talk about that one specific hadith as an example. Metaphor must be restricted. Okay. If you look at the description of Allah's highness, okay, is His highness in location, or is His highness in His rank and in meaning? Those are examples. Talib Razi says, I love, by the way, Talib Razi is a coffee guy. He has some really good coffee. He makes some really good coffee. Yeah, he even gave me a set of Shadee al-Udma dark roast. Talib Razi says, what Dr. Ali Atai says about this false hadith, it doesn't meet the criterion of embarrassment because the fabricators made up the story thinking it would prove Allah's preservation of Islam. Right? So they thought that it would prove that even if Iblis was to come in and trick the Prophet, that the angels would correct him. So it's not even an embarrassment to the Prophet, peace be upon him. It doesn't even reach that. I never read Maududi's books. This questioner is asking about Maududi. I've seen them all over different masajid, but I actually have never read a book by Abu al-Ala al-Maududi. His organization is here. Big Ikna. Lily Poppy says, can you give a rough idea of costs of accommodation? If you could find an apartment for sisters, okay. If you could find an apartment and split the rent, you may end up just paying like $700 a month. If you split rent, less than that, even $500. You have to ask around. You know what, Omar? What we have to do, and Uthman, if he's listening to this, ask around Rutgers, the MSA, if anyone has an apartment and is vacating it and needs someone to cover the rent.
Yeah, we did this last year. This happened last year with the summer intensive students last year. What they did was, since they're brothers that have off-campus housing,
yeah,
they leave for the summer, and so they gave it to those brothers that were here for the summer intensive.
Yeah,
they were paying nothing. Pretty much.
Like we'll probably get something like that.
We can find someone.
Do you think that the legal maximalism, or legal maxim, and dogmatized fiqh and Aqidah imitated the rabbinical traditions and corrupted the fruit of the message? No, it's not that. It's not that. What it is that we have Sharia and we have Tasawwuf. The Sharia is the law of Allah, what Allah wants us to do and what Allah wants us to believe. Those things will not change, with the exception of where they intersect with everyday life that would require a new fatwa. But really what the imitation of the rabbinical tradition would be focusing on the law and nothing about our application of it. Like, what is the application supposed to look like? That's why Imam al-Ghazali wrote Ihya Ulumuddin, because he found that they're just becoming academic. Just purely academic. Okay? And very little piety involved. Very little understanding the purpose of all this. And losing focus of the purpose. Like, why do we study in the first place? We study to transform ourselves and to spread this transformation to others. So that's my take on the comment there. Like, losing the point, losing the purpose, and forgetting the inner dimensions, like humility. Where is the humility? Where is the piety? Where is the desire for Allah's favors? Any advice for Muslims with ADHD during Salah? ADHD, one thing that helps with it is doing a lot of Salah to the point that you get used to paying attention a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. But maybe you want to ask some experts in ADHD. And even there are some people who don't believe in ADHD. They believe it's purely habitual. It's a behavioral. And Allah knows best, ultimately, what it is. How do we choose good friends, says Victoria Oho. Well, choose good friends by going to the good places where good people are attracted. Like what? Classes, Quran classes, Deen classes, Masajid, Islamic programs. Who's going to show up to those things? Other people who are trying to get better. Other people who are trying to be, close to Allah. Those are the people going to go there. So you go there, you make friends with the people who are there. is salawat Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa barik wa sallam. Yes, la bas bidhalik. It's excellent salah. Does dua and sujood have to be in Arabic? Yes, if you're able to do it. If you're not, then you can do it in your own language. In sujood, the dua of any dua in salah, but of course the everything else has to be in Arabic. Why is the Prophet Musa mentioned so much in the Quran? Amazing question. Why? And the answer to that is the Prophet Musa A.S. shares many similarities with the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and so by revealing verses about the Prophet Musa, the Prophet ﷺ can take analogy from that, take lessons from that, and get strengthened from that, because what Musa suffered and what the Prophet suffered are very similar. Musa had trouble with the Pharaoh. The Prophet had trouble with Quraysh. Prophet Musa's followers made many mistakes as followers. They were not good followers. These verses are revealed so that the Muslims could read them and avoid these same mistakes. A very simple answer to that, for example, or example of that, is how many questions they kept asking. Okay. And Allah advised the Muslims, or commanded the Muslims, لا تسألوا عن أشياء إن تبد لكم تسؤكم. O Sahaba, O companions, don't be like the followers of Moses. They were such bad followers. They would keep asking question over question after question after question. Whereas the Quran says, O companions, don't ask about things that if you get the answer for it, you may not like the answer. It would harm you. The followers of Musa said, اذهب أنت وربك فقاتلا. Go you and your God and fight. We're not fighting. إن ها هنا قاعدون. We're sitting right here. Can you believe that? You guys just saw the Red Sea. Your clothes are still wet from the Red Sea. You talk back to your prophet like that? Are you nuts? Something's wrong with your heads? You literally just saw the Red Sea open up. You walked right through it with your own bodies, looking right and left. How long does that walk take? At least 25, 30 minutes in our time. At the very least, if not more. So you're literally watching and looking. Then, while you're crossing the Red Sea, you said, oh, Moses, we can't see our relatives because they were there, each of the 12 tribes, and the Red Sea actually opened in 12 areas. Okay? Musa said, I can't believe this. Are you actually complaining? No, this is impossible. You cannot possibly. The Red Sea's opened up for you. Oh, look who it is. Ryan's here. Salam, rahmatullah. Faddal. My man. كيف حالك? How's it going? Good to see you. تفضل. خذ مع القاعدين. You cannot possibly, the Red Sea is opening for each one of your tribes, and you still found a way to complain. You are unreal, unbelievable. And what did they say? They say, oh, Moses, we can't see our relatives. We can't see each other. So Allah Ta'ala cut windows for them in the middle of the water. So you have the water came up, made walls so that they could walk through. On top of that, windows opened up so they could look and see each other and the other tribes and feel. And the only reason that Allah accepted that is that this good relations and concern about your relatives, concern about your tribe, concern about your family is a good thing. Then they got to the opposite side and they saw the Fir'aun drowning. Then they said, oh, Moses, we saw him go under the water, but we're so worried. Maybe he has some kind of strength that he was able to swim back to the other side. So Allah Ta'ala caused the body of Fir'aun to rise up shore, and they all literally looked at the dead body of the Pharaoh. Then it went back into the water. Yet, after seeing all of that, they're going to now say, when Allah says, go and fight for your land now, fight these enemies of yours to claim the promised land, you are actually going to say, اذهب أنت وربك فقاتلا إن ها هنا قاعدون. Something is deeply, deeply wrong with the mentality of anybody who witnesses that one miracle or all those miracles, the biggest miracle of in the world at that point. And if you think about a miracle, what other miracle, let's say before Islam, before the Quran, what other miracle was witnessed by that many hundreds of thousands of people? Nothing. None. No miracle was witnessed by that many hundreds of thousands of people. From the time of Adam alayhi salam until the time of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the splitting of the Red Sea is the greatest miracle in terms of massiveness of it. Literally, mountains made out of water. The effect of it, killing the most powerful regime on the earth, Pharaoh and his military. The whole military killed in one day, drowned. 3, the number of people who saw it. This is, nobody can deny it. If you're living at that time, nobody can deny that. The number of people who saw it. 4, you didn't just see it. You're in it. You're literally in it. You're literally walking in the bed of the Red Sea, and you could probably touch the water as it's up there. Yet you're going to come and say, "Go you and your God and fight," and we're sitting here. So Quran reveals all these stories لِنُثَبِّتَ بِهِ فُؤَادَكَ to make your heart strong. To make your heart strong and to realize that. So look what Moses faced. Your followers are far better than that. Nothing that the Muslims ever came close to that. And to be assigned to Muslims, look what they did. Don't ever do this. Don't ever come close to this. So what did the Sahaba say? At the Battle of Badr, the companions were not expected to fight the Battle of Badr. And most of them were Ansar, meaning they were people from Yathrib, meaning they had no experience with Quraysh. They had not fought anything with Quraysh. They had no business with Quraysh. Quraysh did not anger them or upset them or steal from them or kill them or abuse them. So the Prophet ﷺ realized that this was not supposed to be a fight, a war, a battle. And the Ansar, this is not what we contracted them. We contracted that you would help protect the Prophet in Medina, not outside Medina. So the Prophet ﷺ wanted to see how they felt. So he gathered all the Sahaba and he said, "Tell me all your opinions about what's about to happen, this Battle of Badr." Of course, Abu Bakr stood up, Umar stood up, and the Prophet ﷺ, that's not really what he wanted to hear. He wanted to hear from the Ansar. Finally, one of the Ansar, Sa'd, stood up and recognized this is what the Prophet wants to hear from us. He said, "O Messenger of Allah, if you're worried about us, we will not be like the Bani Israel who said, 'You go in your Lord and fight,' and we're sitting right here." Okay? We say, "You go in your Lord, go you, your Lord, and we're with you fighting." Right? Subhanallah. Unbelievable. So the Bani Israel, this is why so many verses are revealed about Prophet Moses and the sons of Israel. Okay? Because of how many examples we could take from them. Because the Prophet was bringing a new law to his people. He spent the first half, 13 years, facing an enemy. Second half, establishing the law. What did Prophet Musa had? First half, fighting the Pharaoh. Second half, establishing the law with his people, dealing with his people. Okay? Prophet ﷺ was very similar. No other prophet lived like this. David and Solomon, their country was already established. Ibrahim a.s. didn't have people. He only had a few followers at the end of his life. That's it. No law. Tawheed and some rituals and some basic rules. That's it. Prophet Nuh did not rule his people. So the most parallel prophet to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ in terms of mission is Musa. The most parallel in terms of personality, character is Prophet Ibrahim a.s. And the one that he interacts with in terms of his ummah is Prophet Isa. Because Prophet Isa becomes a member of the ummah of Muhammad ﷺ, while not losing his status as a prophet, of course. But not acting as a prophet from the aspect of bringing a new law. Of course, he acts as a prophet in miracles and those things. Yes, he can act as a prophet in that respect. But in terms of bringing a new law, no. Okay. Can you say Salamu alayka ya Rasulullah outside of Salah? Of course. Salah and Salam on the Prophet ﷺ is recommended constantly, non-stop. Was Dhul Qarnayn a follower of Ibrahim? It's said that he was a king who believed in Ibrahim as a prophet. It is said that. We don't know for sure. Qurtubi actually says Dhul Qarnayn is Alexander the Great. No, Qurtubi, no, sorry. Suyuti says he thinks he may be Alexander the Great. But you could look up what Qurtubi says about that. It'd be good to know. Is having an avatar shirk, corrupted, wrong belief? Avatar meaning what? Meaning like a little picture of yourself? Is that what you mean, Tazboy, by an avatar? No, an avatar meaning just like an avatar is basically just a little picture of yourself, right? That's not going to be shirk. No, there's no worship of another god in that. Nor is it corruption of belief at all. No. Is Ramses II the pharaoh? That's what many say. That's what many say. All right, TCS here. I'm trying to understand the concept of God in Islam. Can God humble himself into a human vessel? No. God, it's not that he cannot. It is that it's rationally a nonsensical statement for for an infinite to become finite. That's what you're asking. Can the infinite be finite? So he is transcendent beyond that. Okay. It's like, can a very, very good student, right? If you say that this student, he's so smart he cannot fail, you're not limiting his power by saying that. He's the transcendence of God beyond entering into the finite and into the creation. The infinite, just imagine I give you a line, an imaginary line that says infinite. All right, can you fit it between my two hands? No, right? The finite, and if you could, it's not an achievement. Okay. Fact Zone says, is it permissible to watch inappropriate content for research purposes? Inappropriate content is a broad statement. What do you want to research?
Maybe you're saying like women not wearing hijab or something.
According to what I actually had a discussion with Sheikh Hatem al-Hajj by this, and he said that in work-related matters, you observe the basic modesty, right? Like the basic modesty of a woman given today's era. And why did I ask him this question? I asked him that a guy says that he runs ads on his website. He has a website that runs ads. He doesn't choose the ad. Google chooses the ads. And the ad may have on it a woman that doesn't have hijab on it. He also said that a guy works in a company and he's got like maybe 5 executives in the company and they need to put headshots of the company. And sometimes he hires a woman that doesn't wear hijab. So for that, Sheikh Hatem al-Hajj answered that in this work-related matters, the basic modesty within our context is what is to be desired. And it's not going to be expected that you're going to have hijabis in every single position. Just think about it. You run a hospital. You're the head of the department of a hospital, head of department of a division in IT or whatever, and you have to put the pictures of the vice presidents there, of the company or whatever, of the heads of the division. It's not reasonable to now say, okay, if you put a non-hijabi, you're going to be sinful. And then no, the guy's not going to work then, right? So that's what basically he spoke about. And I could get to him, an exact quote from him. I can get the exact quote from him later on. But for the conservative space, why can't Jesus be God? Because you are at that point holding God to be a finite, needy figure. And it is not a limitation of God. That's as if saying an A+ student cannot fail, that's a limitation for him. Okay? No. God is transcendent beyond that. And reason would dictate that the infinite never becomes finite. This doctrine is called hulul, to say that the infinite, that God has entered into the creation. Anything?
He just says qila, like he mentions Alexander the Great in there, but he just says qila.
Nothing. So that's the concept of we call this concept transcendence, and it is essentially one of the main ways in which when we talk about Christianity, Allah says in the Quran about Mary and Jesus, they used to walk in the marketplaces and eat food. Why does Allah say this? You don't walk in the marketplace unless you have a need. God does not have needs. Nor would he make himself have a need. When you eat food, what happens? You have to go to the bathroom, right? God's not going to go to the bathroom. Okay. This is what got Mary in trouble, Bishop Mary with his church. He got kicked out of the Assyrian church. He's a heretic. After all that refutation of Mary turns out to be a heretic in his own religion. You know about Mary who said that these things about the Prophet, peace be upon him?
I don't know what he said about that.
Yeah. He says stuff about the Prophet, peace be upon him. Right? That was completely easily refuted. Right? But then footage appeared of him actually being expelled from the Assyrian church because he says, if Jesus was a little baby, I want to squeeze his fat little thighs. And I want him to, and if he poops on me, it's okay. And I'll clean it up. God poops? Subhanallah. Subhanallah. No enemy of the Prophet, peace be upon him, except that he will be eventually humiliated. He's kicked out of his own church as a heretic. Okay. Why do a lot of Muslims assume one is a revert based on a name? Islam is a religion and isn't there to erase culture. I didn't read anywhere that you have to give a child an Arab name. Well, maybe it's just an assumption that someone with a Western name is a convert, but it's not a true assumption. Could have a Western name and not be a convert. Names such as Victor would be the English translation of Nasr, right? Victoria Nasira, right? So there's nothing wrong with naming your son a name in your own language that has a good meaning, as provided it has a good meaning. Okay. And so we see this all the time. Mahin is not an Arabic word. It's bad in Arabic. The word mahin is bad in Arabic. Despicable. But in Persian, it means the moon or something like that. Right?
Dangerous territory.
Dangerous territory. Right? Guy's named Mahin.
What happens when you hear, what's the surah?
Mahin.
Noon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And kind of them.
Before that.
Mahin. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, كل حلاف مهين, and then خلق.
All bad descriptions.
Yeah.
about that.
Mahin is like it's a bad word in Arabic, but it's a nice word in Persian.
Another word, sharab, really common one.
Sharab?
Sharab, just means drink in Arabic, but
Yeah.
in Persian and Urdu, it means like alcohol.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it only means alcohol.
Ajib.
Sharab.
Somebody tell me what's going on with the red heifer thing. Why did everything disappear? Did they find white hairs on it? It should have been slaughtered by now, right? Could you look it up, Omar? Someone else look it up for you?
I was curious about this too, actually.
This is actually one of the easiest plants to thwart. Like you just sprinkle, like someone walking by, sprinkle a little bit on there.
Imagine someone goes throw some bleach on the cow.
Ruin their prophecy.
Is struggle for iqamat ad-din obligatory for every Muslim? Yes, of course. Struggle iqamat ad-din. Do you mean establishing the khilafah or iqamat ad-din in yourself, in your home, in your community, in your family? Yeah, it's obligatory for yourself, for your family, for you at least to try. Iqamat ad-din is a fard kifaya regarding the community and the ummah. Okay. Why is it haram to earn money for sports? The Prophet ﷺ forbade it. Not just by gambling. In general, to be a player, to play for sport, money, to play sport for money, to play games for money. All this, the Prophet ﷺ forbade.
You know, ESPN does completely open betting now. Like it's total. The whole NBA playoff is sponsored by ESPN Bets.
Oh, really? So they have their own version now. Everyone in sports, every industry in sports has its own betting app now. It's insane. The whole sports has become betting. See, the Prophet was right too. And on top of that, what you want people like LeBron James, these are going to be the multimillionaires who have the money, who have influence in society. With for what? right? And this is what you want to do because some people could make millions of dollars doing this. So you want your kids not to be jumping all day, to practice jumping and kicking and throwing all day long, just in the hopes that he could get there and go to a special summer camp and spend all this time for lahu. No, that's why the Prophet forbade it. Can you transplant a modified pig heart into a human body? Is it halal? It is a surgery, and if you're going to be ad-darurat tubihul mahdurat, perhaps the fatwa for that is that someone who is going to die, then the haram becomes halal for him, and Allah knows best. But ask your local muftis.
We have a friend in surgery right now.
Oh yeah, Allah make it easy for him. I'll make it easy for him. A non-Muslim about to convert to Islam wants to propose to my daughter. What question should I ask him to confirm that he is converting for Allah and not just marry my daughter? There's no Q&A for that, I don't believe. But what I have seen people do is say, okay, you want to convert. Good. Why don't you just go take a course, practice Islam for a couple months, a year or so. And then afterwards, if you're sincere about this, come back afterwards. That now I know that you're firmly established as a Muslim for 1 year or 6 months or something like that. I've seen people do that. I've seen them do it with the girl, right? The girl converted. They're like, I don't know if this is a real conversion. They said, yeah, go and you have to take a course, right? And she ends up taking my class at the masjid way back in the day. And she took the class for 2 years. Then they got married. 2 years. That's a long time, right? 2 years. So it's 1 year, then they accepted engagement, and they're engaged for a year, and then they got married after that. And she kept it. She stayed Muslim. She didn't she wasn't faking it.
Someone did ask me the same question yesterday.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, you wouldn't want to ask them those questions.
Yeah.
But like, if you just go out to dinner with them, and you could tell somebody's sometimes you could tell someone's motivations.
Yeah.
A simple conversation.
Yeah.
Non-confrontational.
I mean, and words is the least that's going to give you any sense of security.
Yeah.
Anyone could say words. Actions is far better. Yeah.
Because he was like asking, should I ask him if he has any doubts? And I was like, it might get him to utter like a kufri statement, and then you blame him, but he just is, still starting off.
True. True. If a parent while alive gives all of what is to be inheritance to one of his children as a gift, is this wrong? Yes, it is wrong, of course. Yes. A parent cannot give this child's one gift and not give the other children something either the same or similar, or at least tell them there's a reason I'm giving you a gift and not everyone else, because there is circumstances where there can be an uneven gift distributed. For example, you have two kids, one's a surgeon and one's a poet, right? Well, the poet doesn't have food. It's not a job, right? It's not an industry. You're not going to tell the surgeon, listen, your brother is poor. Do you mind if I give him some money, right? And you can give your other kid some money, right? Even monthly. Every month you support that poet, right? And the other kid, he deserves the same, but he's going to forgo it. He's going to allow it for practical reasons. So sometimes that's the case. It's also discouraged to empty your accounts while you're alive. You should leave some inheritance. Command of the Prophet, peace be upon him. What happens if there's, let's say, a boy and a girl, and I'm not sure about the way life is. The girl may not get married. She may be in financial distress. My son can take care of himself, plus he's going to inherit a good amount. What can I do? What you can do is you could take permission from the son and say, listen, I'm worried about your daughter, your sister. I'm going to buy an apartment for her now. And that's going to be for her income. At least at the very minimum, she'll have $2,000 a month, right? At the very minimum. If the brother's accepting of that and everyone in the family is accepting of that, then that's fine too. Can you touch the English translation of the Quran while menstruating? Yes, you can. If you're not focused in salah, should you repeat it? No. Your salah would still be valid, but you won't have the reward except of what you focused. What do I do if I'm in a state of impurity but don't have the opportunity to do ghusl and have to pray and such? Okay, let's take an example of this. Let's say a person is in a state of impurity, and you see, let's say that the prayer time is going to be out. You're about to miss the prayer, and you see the mu'adhin walking to go give the adhan. You make tayammum and you pray. Okay? And you're only allowed to do that if you are innocent in the delay. If you intentionally delayed, you're not allowed to do that. So you intentionally delayed the prayer, delay, and now I'm going to miss the prayer, and the bathroom is way too far. Let's say you're in a camp or something. You're camping out, and the water is way far away. You're not allowed to make tayammum. You get the sin for missing the prayer. When should a man get married? A man should get married when he has the ability to open a home, essentially. Pay for rent, pay for food, and he has the emotional maturity to handle this responsibility, and he can earn. Prophet ﷺ said, if a man comes to you and you accept his character and his deen. His character is determined by asking people about him who have lived with him, traded with him, bought and sold with him, worked with him, or traveled with him. 3 categories. These categories. Assessing the character of a man is not going to the masjid and asking the imam. He is the worst one to know. Why? Because everyone's on their best behavior in the masjid. Right? Don't come and ask an imam because everyone behaves very well in the masjid. Right? Best behavior. No one's going to be cursing in the mosque. No. But when you live with someone, when you buy and sell with somebody, when you travel with somebody, you see them in their vulnerable moments. Or you see their true colors. So ask people who did those 3 things with them. Then you ask for the person, hey, do you have, that's his character. What about his deen? His deen, you can say, yes, in the masjid, does he show up? What is his reputation in the masjid? Yeah, his reputation is that he is a regular Muslim like everybody else. He prays and fasts and he pays his zakah, and we never see him smoking, drinking, or going out with women or anything like that, or saying anything blasphemous or anything like that. So that's the 4th thing, or I should say the 2nd thing. The 3rd thing is now you ask, the wali asks the man himself, can you provide? Because that's his religious obligation. So part of checking on his deen is checking on if he can provide. Okay, there's no value in a husband who, like, where are they going to live if he doesn't have a home? So that's what you do. You do those 3 things. And then also, the wali has to like him too. A person could you can imagine somebody could have these 3 things. It's possible. He has great deen, he has money, he has good character. But we may not like him as a family. Like he doesn't talk, he doesn't laugh, he doesn't have a personality. So all that's up for grabs too. But that should not be the sole reason why a wali rejects a man. Shouldn't be the sole reason. But if it is, nothing you could do. Bad luck for the girl and the guy. One of my cousins named her Cairo after her son Cairo after the Fatimid Caliph who created the city. Names after him. Do you recommend she changes the name of her son? Cairo in English, you mean? I don't think you have to. It's a city that is known for many good things as well. So I wouldn't say that he has to change his name. But Qahir, if it was just Qahir, firstly, Qahira is a female name. Cairo, you could say, is just an English word. Qahira, no, firstly, it's a female name, number 1. Number 2, there's attribute of the divine. Usually, you would name Abdul Qahar for something like that. For such but Qahir, can Qahir be an attribute of a person? Are we allowed to say that? Allahu A'lam. Yumkin Qaharahu. Yes. So Qahir, you would name Abdul Qahar is better. But Cairo, we consider that an English name, and it points to the city in which a lot of good things happen to it. But I hope he cleans his room more than, you keep calling him Cairo. Maybe he'll stop cleaning like the people of Cairo. right? You go in, litter all across the room, right? Hey, what's going on here? Well, you name me, Cairo. Trying to make it look like Cairo.
Wedding shops everywhere.
Yeah, what?
That's what I think.
Yeah. Should the Arabian Peninsula unite? Well, the whole Ummah should unite. Our political philosophy is all these borders, just erase them completely. Or you can keep the border, but you have one united Muslim nations, right? United States, USI, United States of Islam, right? And Algeria can run itself, obviously, but the currency should be one. The military should be one, right? The leader should be one. And the leader would decide on he would broker, be with the world, with the rest of the world, speak on behalf of all these nations, right? The economy should be one, okay? The currency should be one. The military should be one. And these borders should be thin line borders, and there should be one bold border around the whole thing, just like the United States, right? Each country could make its own laws, local laws, but there are federal laws. It's federalism, essentially. Morocco be Morocco, Algeria be Algeria, Pakistan be Pakistan. But you have federalism. There is a federal government, okay? Federal government. There are federal laws that have to be observed by all these countries. So you could say that bring all the presidents and the sultans of each of these countries, they now form then they each send, one of them becomes the president of the whole thing, right? That's one way you could do it. One of them becomes the president of the whole thing. And each governor of a nation selects, for example, its leadership. And each country gets a number of representatives to go sit in a shura body for the whole federal government. That's how it should be. Afghanistan, erase that border or decrease it. Turkey, Egypt, Sudan, all these nations, they should be one nation. If the hearts were engaged, they would do it. But their hearts are way off. I'll tell you why the hearts are way off. Because we bought into nationalism, which is a disease. Nationalism is the problem here. Our political enemy number one is nationalism. Like why would the location of something be the core of my identity? No, it's a nice part of my identity. I love it, whatever, but it's not the core of it. Is music an exception in weddings? No, not necessarily. The drum, maybe, only. What is the recommended engagement period before marriage? This is something that's urfi, and I would say, 6 to 3. Something depends on the age, too. Younger kids who don't know anything, maybe longer. Older people, shorter. But I would say eventually, like a year is too much, maybe, I would say. 9 months, maybe, would be on the long side. 2 months, 1 month on the short side. Okay. Pro Lookout says Victor can also be Muntasir. Good observation there. Can you make a video on how the people of Medina moved from what Imam Malik saw now to being Hanbali? Yeah, it's whatever government sponsors at that point. When a new government comes in and they sponsor a different fiqh, that's the new generation will be raised on that. They become scholars based on that, and everything changes. It's what the government sponsors. If sinning doesn't take you out of the fold of Islam, why do you mention smoking and drinking? Smoking and drinking. Oh, you mean when I said about the husband? I don't know. What context is this person asking the question? Sinning doesn't take you out of the fold of Islam, but smoking and drinking are sins that would impact you. They would impact you. You may not be deemed trustworthy if you're a drinker, or you definitely wouldn't be. If you're saying I'm a Muslim but I drink occasionally, okay, but all right, so we're going to have a limit with you here. There's going to be limits. We won't deem you trustworthy. We won't deem you worthy of many positions because you openly drink. If you're open about your drinking, we won't even be friends with you because you're not allowed to be friends with an open sinner. We're not allowed to fraternize about someone who's not embarrassed about their sins. At least keep your sins private. Keep your sins private. At least you're showing some belief in the sinfulness of this thing. and you're not corrupting other people. You are a source of corruption for other people if you say, I drink openly. Okay. Porque Islam Espanol from Mexico. Hey, Porque Islam Espanol, can you please come and visit us? We have a 100% Spanish-speaking soup kitchen. Everyone in the soup kitchen speaks Espanol. I would say 99.5%. Out of every 1,995 are 100% Spanish-speaking. So come and visit us so you can help us out, translate for these, for our guests. Anime Pig says, what are your thoughts on third spaces? Is it too liberal? Ikhtilat? Or there is benefit for some? Like a coffee shop? Yeah. Like a Muslim coffee shop attached, or a Muslim run coffee shop attached to like a Dar al-Fat or something like that. What's your, how should we think about that? Yeah, I mean, why don't we put it like this? If a Muslim opened a coffee shop, what it would look like? Yeah, we have an example, right? When a Muslim opens a coffee shop, let's say it's in an all-Muslim area or a heavily populated Muslim area. Does that coffee shop owner have responsibility in the Sharia to what happens in the shop?
Even if it's not a Muslim area, probably.
Yeah. Let's say I open up a coffee shop right in the middle of Manhattan where there's, 2% Muslim population. What is my responsibility in the shop? Am I responsible if a guy and a girl comes in? Am I responsible if it becomes a hangout place and a meeting place for people? I don't have an answer to that, right? Because we'd have to ask. But if I am opening up a coffee shop for Muslims, I'm responsible, right? Like in other words, just like attached to the masjid, of course I'm responsible. I have to establish some kind of Islamic environment there. Put some plants down the middle, and the brothers could sit one side, girls on the other side, and another section for married couples. Yeah. That's what they do in Islamic countries. Yeah. Every restaurant in Islamic country has a general understanding that families sit in one area, women by themselves in another, men in the others. And we're proud of that too. It's not like some kind of prudish conservative thing. No, we're proud of that. Huh? Yeah. Yeah. Bilal says, I'm a Chechen. In my culture, it's practically inappropriate for the groom to speak to and even interact with the wali before marriage or the engagement period. What do you say to that? How does the wali do his job? How do you get to know the family? Sheikh Ajib. I don't have an answer. We'll have to ask Imam Bilal Bashir. Right? Imam Bashir, I mean. Bashir Bilal. We're going to have to ask him about that. Or I have to ask Sheikh Murad. I have to ask Sheikh Murad about that. He'll know. Yeah. Did the Arabs commit khuruj against the Ottomans? Yes, they did. They did. And is the result nowadays a punishment of that? I could say for sure they did committed khuruj, but is it a punishment for that? Yeah, well, the adoption of nationalism is the biggest problem. And yeah, we're suffering the results of that. I want to say the dean says, anonymous, I'm inclined towards the Ash'ari Maturidi Aqidah. However, I got an opportunity to study in Saudi. Would you recommend, as their Aqidah is different? I don't know what they're teaching these days in Saudi. I don't know how, I don't know what their curriculum is. Is it still the same old Kitab al-Tawheed? Then no, don't study that book. Even Salafis themselves don't really teach that book anymore. It's so extreme. Usul al-Thalatha.
What's the other one? There's one
Oh,
other
yeah, they have another one. What is it? Al-Aqidah al-Wasitiyya, named after Wasit in Iraq, which is all sifat. We differ with that, I have to say. With all respect, we differ with all that. Fiqh Sunnah if you're studying with the Muslim Brotherhood. No, I mean, with all due respect, we differ with that. What else can I say? Yani? So it would not be our choice of location to study without being sectarian or saying anything. But there's nothing wrong to say that we have a different manhaj. That's it. It's not the books that we teach. We find that there are mistakes in those books. They say the same about our books. Okay. Will you get another goat? I'm going to get another goat. They're going to take it. If I do get something, it'll be a sheep. At least sheep won't make noise. Goat made a lot of noise. I'll be a sheep. Right? Can we takfir on all IDF if a Muslim happens to be fighting for them? If a Muslim is fighting for the IDF, what do we say about that? We say about a Muslim who fights on the opposite side with the opposite enemy. If he remains a Muslim, but he's trying to do this for the sake of the dunya, then he's a murderer and a sinner. But if he believes in that cause over the cause of Islam, then he's an apostate. Okay. Victor can also be called Fawzan. Interesting. Yeah. Is Fir'aun the worst to exist? Allah accepted Iblis' dua, but not Pharaoh. Okay. How do angels have free will, but Jibreel acted up? Okay, Victoria, you have many questions here, and I'm going to answer all of them because they're all pretty important. Number one, Allah did not accept the dua of Iblis. Iblis said, "Oh Allah, I worshipped you all these years. Where's my compensation?" Allah said, "Ask what you wish." Showing that he's completely blinded, because he should have said, "Oh Allah, forgive me. Elevate my rank," right? That's what he should have said, but he's so blinded with hatred. He said, let me live until the end of time. Let me be unseen to the human being. Let me whisper to him. Let me access them. And Allah gave it to him. That is not acceptance of dua, because the phrase acceptance of dua implies love. It implies love. It implies something good. But what we say is Allah compensated him for his worship. Justice. Just like you compensate when you go to a restaurant, you just pay him and you leave. It's just compensation, that's it. Secondly, who is worse, Iblis or Fir'aun? No, we know the Prophet ﷺ said even Abu Jahl is worse than Fir'aun. Abu Jahl was more stubborn. Okay. All right. Abu Jahl was more stubborn than the Pharaoh. And you could look at who's worse by who attacked someone greater. So if the Prophet ﷺ is the greatest of all messengers, those who attacked him are worse than those who attacked Prophet Noah, for example, or Prophet Musa. So Abu Lahab and Abu Jahl would be worse than the Pharaoh in their position with Allah Ta'ala, because they attack someone worse. But we do hold Iblis is the worst of the creation. Iblis, he is the worst. Why do we say that? We say that because the Quran itself speaks about his being accursed. And that, from another aspect, he's the worst. He was in the heavens. He was in the heavens. Lived in the heavens. Saw the angels with his own two eyes. So, the excuse for him is far less. Whereas we could say the Pharaoh never saw the heavens. Abu Jahl and Abu Lahab never saw the heavens, right? So the excuse for them is far less. For Iblis is far less. All right. Now, how do angels not have free will when Jibreel acts and reacts? Okay, so angels do not have, they have a will. But they don't have a will to choose evil. When you see an angel, if you were to see an angel, the angel can talk to you and ask you questions, but he cannot do anything forbidden. How? The same way that you cannot do anything yesterday. Can you can you do anything yesterday? You can't. Right? It's not possible, right? I can't do something yesterday. I can't roar like a lion. I can't flap my arms and fly like a bird. In the same the same exact way that that's just totally impossible, it's totally impossible for angels to use their willpower to do something forbidden. It's not something that they're created with. In the same way that you can't act on yesterday. You can't be a bird, for example. Same thing, same concept. They're just not created to do that. Okay. If you do Umrah in Ramadan, do you still have to do Hajj? Just because you get the reward of something doesn't mean that the obligation is lifted. You still have to fulfill the obligation. Okay. Does not being friends with an open sinner also apply to non-Muslims? Yes, if the non-Muslim is influencing the Muslims. Okay. The issue here is the influence. The sinner, if he keeps his sin to himself, and you know he's a sinner, but he keeps it to himself, then the rule doesn't apply to him. Okay? I know many people who hardly pray at home. When they're home, they don't pray all the time. And smoke. And sometimes they smoke weed. I know this about them. I've come to know this about them. But they never bring that stuff in public. They never promote it. They never joke about it. They never say it. It just happens to be his own private sin. What do? I keep it to myself. Now that I've known about it, I pretend I don't know about it. And I treat him like a normal Muslim because he's hiding himself. He's respecting himself. So I respect him too. Okay? Likewise, a non-believer who is not influencing anybody, you can be friendly with him. But the moment he's now preaching his thing and trying to influence your community and your friends and your family, that's different. And we then know. It's fathomable for an imam to be all buddies with like a preacher of another religion. Like how? Right? Yeah, friendly is different from being friends with somebody. Let's go out to a ball game or something. No. Is saying happy birthday haram? No. Not saying it is not haram, and even celebrating it within the bounds of excess, not being excessive in things, is also not forbidden. Celebrating things, now you may say that it's not muru'ah, it's not for an adult, it's not something for an adult to do. Yeah, you can say that, but we won't say it's forbidden. Celebrating things is halal, provided the matter being celebrated is halal. Celebrating things is recommended, provided the matter that is being celebrated is recommended. Is celebrating graduating medical school equal to memorizing the Quran, equal to having a birthday? No. Having a birthday, you did nothing except you stayed alive. Okay? So graduating medical school is a great achievement that you could benefit your family and your friends from, and something you worked for. Celebrating Hifz al-Quran is even greater than that. Okay? Celebrating opening, let's say, a bar, obviously be forbidden. On top, now that's the celebration in general. Then within the celebration, there can be permitted things, recommended things, and forbidden things, or discouraged things within the celebration. So let's take the celebration of Hifz al-Quran. We established this celebration is a good deed because we're encouraging the Quran now. We're celebrating someone who did something great. Now within the celebration, there could be sins. For example, you put some music on, or you have complete free mixing like that in a way that everyone's so close to each other. That could be haram. The celebration overall is a good deed, but within it, you committed a sin. You're only sinful for that moment of time. So if you do that for the first 5 minutes and then you don't do that for the rest, you're sinful for 5 minutes. And then you get rewarded for the rest. Just like going to Taraweeh. Of course, you get rewarded for the whole time you're in Taraweeh, but within Taraweeh, you can commit. It's rational. It's possible that someone could commit sins. Sitting, looking at the sisters section, seeing who's out there. Maybe I can get married, maybe not, right? Just looking at the women there. You'd be sinful. At that moment, you're sinful. But the general outage or outing to Taraweeh is rewardable. So that's how we view celebrations. The matter you're celebrating gives you the ruling. And then what you do in it, Sharia is the same everywhere, right? Within the celebration or outside the celebration, you have to observe the Sharia. 007 says, it is said if prostration to someone other than Allah would be allowed, it would have been for the wives towards their husbands. Okay? Because he provides and he protects them, etc. But feminists would say they don't need a man. Yeah, what's the question there? What are your thoughts on this? My thoughts on it is it's an absurdity. You needed a man to exist, right? Without a man, you would not exist. Okay? Within your existence, count how many things that a man does. Okay? You don't need a man. Okay? Go extinct then. Your lineage will be extinct. And we'll have less people saying that nonsense as time goes on. Okay? When you say you can't... I have a proposal from a man who owns a house and pays for mortgage. His condition is if I'm not entitled to it if divorced. But during the marriage, he wants me to be a stay-at-home wife and not work at all. Well, by Sharia, if he owns the house and he pays for it, what would make you entitled to it? So he's correct in that regard. He wants me to stay at home and not work at all. So what's your fear? My fear is that if I ever get divorced or if I ever I'm unhappy, I will have no money. Then don't marry that guy. Simple as that. Or negotiate something with him. Tell him, listen, you're a great guy. I want to marry you, but I still would like some kind of financial life. You never know what happens in this world. You could die. So negotiate that with him. Be open about how you feel. If your dad has money, maybe your dad gets you an apartment and you start a little real estate business. Or negotiate for him, you work at home. Or you say to him, okay, but you give me an allowance then, right? And you save up your allowance and start an investment portfolio with somebody and make your money from home with the allowance that he gives you. So you can negotiate. It's not just, say no right away. Just negotiate it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got to go. It's been late. We got a 4:00 appointment, and I got to go. Jazakumullah khairan, everybody. Unfortunately, I'd love to stay and take more keyway, but I have to run right now. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا